Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world and the 2nd largest in South America. It stretches over an area of almost 4,000 kilometers from north to south, filling a large part of South America. However, although Argentina is already a true giant and is around 8 times the size of Germany, the government is now claiming an area that is much larger. In many Argentinian maps, the country's surface area is not shown as we know it, but as we know it. In addition to the long-disputed Falkland Islands, we also see many other British overseas territories such as South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. But also parts of Chile and a huge part of Antarctica. But why does Argentina insist so vehemently on these territories to this day? How much control does it actually have over them, and who recognizes Argentina's claims at all? We take a look at all these fascinating questions in today's video. The roots of Argentina's territorial claims go back deep into the country's history and are inextricably linked to its development as a nation. When Argentina declared its independence from the Spanish crown in the year 1816, it saw itself as the leading power in South America. It wanted to prevent so-called balkanization, i.e. the disintegration of the entire region into many small states, and thus strived for a long time for a greater Argentina. And in many areas, Argentina was also a great power, unlike today. Due mainly to the massive influx of European emigrants, it even became one of the world's largest economic powers over the course of the century. Argentina became one of the richest countries in the world and had a similar level of prosperity to the USA and Canada. In order to become a hegemonic power similar to the United States, there were repeated proposals for territorial expansion. For example, in the direction of Uruguay, Chile, or Paraguay. However, only in the case of Paraguay were these implemented. In the year 1864, probably the bloodiest conflict in the history of South America broke out, in which Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay fought together against Paraguay. Around 60 to 80% of Paraguay's inhabitants died in the conflict, and its neighbors helped themselves generously to the state's territory. But after that, Argentina stayed out of major conflicts for a long time, even remaining neutral during the Second World War and sheltering many Nazis. It was not until the 1980s that the most important conflict of modern Argentina broke out, the Falklands War. I have already made a detailed video about this, which I will link to at the end of the video, so here is just a brief summary. Argentina's rapid economic rise was followed by a dramatic fall from the year 1950 onwards. The country was repeatedly plunged into economic crises and military governments seized power. And the best way for the military government of the time to fuel nationalism and legitimize itself seemed to be a conflict on the outside. And so it began an invasion of the Falkland Islands, to which Argentina had long laid claim, but which belonged to Great Britain. The British were not expected to put up any resistance, but the exact opposite was the case. They responded with their full military force and were able to recapture the islands in just a few weeks. This ultimately brought down the Argentinian government. However, the claim to the islands has remained to this day and has even been extended to other British islands, namely South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. In the year 1994, this claim was even officially enshrined in the Constitution, which states, "The Argentine nation ratifies its legitimate sovereignty over the Falkland Islands, South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, as well as over the corresponding maritime and insular territories, as they are an integral part of the national territory." The recovery of these territories and the full exercise of sovereignty is a permanent and unshakable objective of the Argentine people. And whenever Argentina finds itself in an economic predicament, the government reasserts these claims in order to unify the nation. In the year 2014, for example, the government launched a 50 peso banknote with a map of the Falkland Islands in the white and blue colors. But as we can see from the map, Argentina's claims go even further. The huge Antarctic territory is particularly striking. This was already claimed by Argentina in the year 1942, even though the territory overlapped with that claimed by Chile and Great Britain. In the year 1961, the Antarctic Treaty initially prevented possible conflicts over territorial claims, as these were not recognized internationally. However, Argentina still lays claim to the territory today and counts it as its southernmost province. And when the treaty expires, it would probably like to occupy the area completely. And Argentina also continues to lay claim to a rather unreal region, the southern Patagonian ice field, a deserted and uninhabited region in the far south of South America. In the year 1991, the governments of Chile and Argentina agreed on a borderline. However, this was never ratified by the Argentinian parliament as it allegedly favored Chile. And so, to this day, the border is marked much further west on Argentinian maps than it officially is. So we can see how many border disputes and unresolved border demarcations still exist even today. And, above all, how crisis-ridden governments keep bringing them up to distract attention from domestic political problems. Please write in the comments if you would like to see a video like this about other countries.